Mr. Pinkosh, once again, you are a licensed professional architect in the state of New Jersey.
I am.
And you are qualified with the last application, so is that correct? Again, similar question, if you can just give us a general overview of the architectural aspects of the building, orienting it to the site plan.
Sure.
Identify floor plans and floor plate layouts.
Sure. Well, we can start very easily with the exterior. Again, we have a neoclassical form here with many Georgian elements in it. Something that you could see on almost any college campus here, down south, out west. It's a very traditional and attractive and historical look. Again, we have a three-story building with a basement. The first story is the heart of the building. It has most of the common areas there. We've got parking, as Mr. Bogan had said. We have an accessible bedroom, and we have a residence apartment, resident assistant's kind of suite there, living room, dining room, kitchen, and some bathrooms, so that the part of what goes on outside of the apartments will take place either here or in the basement. Basement has a recreation area, kind of a common gathering area, and again with the powder room, and then some utility areas. The basement is down over here. It sits below the first floor. You have about a little over 1,000 square feet here, a little over 2,000 square feet of useful space on the first floor, and each of the next two floors have a little over 3,000 square feet each. Total building being about a little over 9,300 square feet. And again, here we have similar plans, floor to floor. We have 8 units on the second floor and 9 on the third. We have a total then of 18 residential units and 1 suite for the resident assistant, totaling up each one apartment units will house 2 people, and with 1 additional resident assistant, totaling 37 as a grand population for the whole facility. And again, we can go over some of the elevations, and again, it's all brick. So we have, again, consistent all the way through, very much, as you would see in any upscale university anywhere. Rear elevation, you don't see that here, but again, same feel, same scale. Similar materials. You have a little bit of hardy board, between the stories over here, just to scale it and accentuate it, but the majority of everything is brick. Precast trim.
For the record, I note that we are requesting a height of 34.8 feet. Could you just identify where that height goes to? It goes to the very top of the
Yeah, it's just at the top of the ridge, at the center of the building.
And by providing that additional height, it allows for the accentuation of a non-flat roof.
That's correct. That's correct. Again, a historical element, you can see a pattern like that on most classical buildings. It creates a really nice visual sense of entry at that point.
I have no further questions.
As I understand it, there's a common bathroom on the second and third floor. How was it determined that would be sufficient for 16 people on one floor and 18 on the other?
Again, in using general design principles for this type of a house, sorority fraternity. Simple fact is there are code requirements that need to be met in terms of number of fixtures for a certain population. And that's really how it's met. It's met by building code, by plumbing code. Does that answer your question?
In some ways it does, in terms of the legality of it. But today, commonly, people come from homes with 3 and 4 bathrooms when they've got 4 bedrooms in the house. So getting people accustomed to sharing one bathroom with 15 or 17 other people.
I'm not sure how extreme that is. I know when I was in school, our dorms, we had common bathrooms as well. Everyone seemed to...
I had one bathroom, but I don't know
No, everyone seemed to fit in pretty well in that communal setting.
It's not one bathroom, it's one larger bathroom.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
How many are in there? In other words, there's a common bathroom with many different, like
Yeah.
shower showers.
So there's 3 shower stalls, 3 toilets, and 3 sinks.
In each one.
3, 4, 18.
It's a common way to design a building like this.
And each of the rooms is how many?
2.
I'm just curious about the 2 upper balconies on the front of the building there. I see that there's windows,
Yeah, they're
quality roof line there.
Yeah, right over here. I see that they're windows behind. They're primarily
Locked off or?
They're primarily decorative. They're really there for
Well, I'm just concerned with people going out on them and.
The railings are high enough if someone does go out.
I mean, are they gonna be built that?
They'll be 40, at least,
also use
they'll be
as a
42 inches
patio?
high. They'll meet the building code so that in event somebody does take a venture out there, that it'll be safe. The intent is not that.
It's more aesthetic.
And in the common areas, is there like, a thing that, or is there anything?
In the common areas, there are bathrooms in each one of the common areas on either floor.
And how about cooking facilities?
There's a common kitchen, common dining room, common living room.
Could you just point out where they are again?
Sure.
The basement area?
The basement area actually has a recreation room with a small, half here. So that'd be, TV, that sort of thing, cards, whatever you want to go on here. And on the first floor, yeah, we have the living room, kitchen, dining area here, bathrooms, over, that over here.
No further questions?
Thank you.
This time I call the team. So you're a licensed professional planner of the state of New Jersey, is that correct?
Yes.
In that capacity, you're familiar with the application for the board for this facility?
I don't.
Again, for the record, previously, approved the last application. If you could, Keith, same question, if you could just generally give us an overview of the charge that you had with respect to analysis of this particular proposal, dealing not only with the B variances, and there are several, but also with the C variances, and provide your analysis and then your justification for those variances.
Sure. Well, obviously, this being a fraternity/sorority house is slightly different than some of the other applications before this board for typical student housing. And as Mitch mentioned earlier, one of the things that we did was we met with the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Affairs, Ms. Joanne Arnhold, and she sort of relayed to us the story of her tenure there and the trends that she's seen. And I think Mitch hit a lot of the key points there, which really speaks to the need in support of special reasons to receive grants. But the bottom line is the number of students participating in Breathe Life has tripled, the number of chapters has more than doubled, and the number of fraternity houses has actually declined from about 24 to roughly 17. So clearly that speaks to need, but it's also creating somewhat of a problem for her office, especially because that's driving a lot of these students into more informal settings where they may be living in 1 or 2 family homes and sort of functioning as a quasi-fraternity, but doing so outside of the purview of official school policy. So there's all kinds of implications with respect to that. And so the university sort of faces a quandary in that it's not really in a position to build the houses themselves at this point, and it doesn't have any plans to do so. And then the chapters themselves, I think for the most part, I have to believe lack either the financial ability or the wherewithal to do this type of project. So that's the reason why we're seeing the private sector step in and meet this market need. In terms of the suitability of this site, I think the location is what is the key point here. And this aerial really supports the fact that this particular area, as we mentioned earlier, there are 17 registered fraternities and sororities that have houses. Here are 5 within this area. The others are primarily clustered around Union Street, just to the south of here. But I wanted to focus in on this area to also illustrate that this area is also very much university oriented, with some of the recently approved or recently constructed private student housing developments here, which are shown in blue. Again, the 5 existing fraternity houses closer to College Avenue, and then also some university/institutional developments over here on Senior Street. So clearly the location for this building makes a lot of sense vis-a-vis adjacency to the student center and the College Avenue gym and all the transportation that's provided over there. So I think for those 2 kind of key points, the need and the particular suitability of the site from a location perspective, the use variance here can be granted in support of purposes A, B, and G of the municipal land use law. Just in regard to the negative criteria in terms of the use variance, again, because this clearly is a student-oriented environment, I don't really see major conflicts here in terms of introducing this type of use at this site. Moreover, a lot of what we're providing here is very much consistent with what's contemplated in the master plan reexamination report for student housing, albeit this is a slightly different use, but sort of the physical building itself is quite similar to what we've seen in a lot of other projects in this area. So we can certainly reconcile the grant of the use variance with the impact on the zoning plan of the city. Now, with regard to the height and floor area ratio variances, I'll start with height. And I want to emphasize that both for the height and the FAR variances, if this was located across the street in the I-1 zone, we would meet both requirements. The height we're requesting is 34.8 feet. And the requirement is 30 feet. Again, I believe we've addressed it. I think we probably could design a building that meets that requirement, but it certainly wouldn't be as attractive as this building. I think we're really providing something that fits into the residential character of this neighborhood. Floor area ratio, again, is very typical of these types of projects. It's not the floor area ratio in combination with the building impervious coverage variances that we're requesting. This isn't, again, the fact that it would be permitted across the road in the I-1 zone suggests that the FAR that we're proposing here is consistent with what the city envisions for this type of use. The impervious coverage variance largely relates to both the building and the provision of parking and also the bicycle storage in the rear yard, which drives up the impervious coverage just a bit more than what would be anticipated for a 1 or 2 family home. But we are certainly providing landscaping, especially within the front yard, to enhance the appearance, and that's where we place the most emphasis in terms of the design of the building. So that the FAR and the coverage relief that we're requesting is certainly not unreasonable, and it's pretty typical for a multi-unit development in this type of urban setting. We are technically requesting a rear yard variance. The corner parcel, we do have 2 rear yards, 40-foot rear yard setback locations, which clearly is intended for 1 or 2 family development. Just as a reference, the I-1 zone requires 20-foot rear yard setback. We do actually comply with the setback requirements to the west, but we don't to have here on my list a couple of waivers, which I should probably address. There is a parking lot landscaping and shade tree buffer waiver that we're requesting. Again, this goes back to the coverage variance, which is the benefits of the bike storage and the adequate parking to serve as much needed use. I believe outweighs the benefits of providing additional landscaping in that area. Moreover, I think it's worth pointing out that the parking that we're providing, while it is surface, partially enclosed on the deck over portion of the tuck under parking, and the remainder will be substantially screened from the public realm. Buffers, there is a 10-foot buffer requirement from parking lot to adjacent residential use. We are providing a 6-foot board-on-board fence around the perimeter of the parking area. I would just note for the board's benefit that the two residences adjacent to the west and to the north of this property are actually almost right up on the property line. So that sort of exacerbates this condition here, but it's nothing that we can control. But certainly the benefits of providing the necessary parking and the bike storage outweigh any detriments associated with that waiver. And just to summarize, I think the bulk variances are quite minimal when you consider the much needed demand for this type of use in this location. It's certainly necessary to facilitate a much